All right, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're going to learn today Moshiach Matters class. I think we're on class number 136. We began last week just a tiny bit of the blessing. We're holding a Parshas Toldos, chapter Bereshis, Perek Chav Zayin, Pasuk Aleph. So let me read the story first, and then we will be busy with this for quite a while. So here we go. When Yitzchak aged, and his eyes became difficult to see, got darkened. Yitzchak was kind of semi-blind, turning blind. He called his older son, Esav, he said to him, my son. So Esav responded, I'm here, whatever you want, father. He said, behold, I am old. I don't know the day that I'm dying. So I'm nearing my death, I feel that. I'm not sure, but it's time to deal with important business. Va'ata now, sanach elecha, go take your knife, your sword, telyacha, your bow. Telyacha is your sword. Chelecha is your knife. V'kashtecha, and your bow. V'tzea sada, go out into the field. V'tzoda litzayid, and go hunt for me a hunt. Go bring me something. Vaseli matamim, and make for me delicacies. Kasher ahavti, like I love. And bring it to me, and I will eat, so that I will bless you b'terem amos, before I die. Okay, so what do we have from now? Yitzchak, Isaac, is calling Esav and instructing him on bringing him food, preparing for him a dish so he can bless him. Yitzchak overhears this conversation when Yitzchak is speaking to Esav, her son. And Esav actually goes ahead and does what his father told him to do, and he goes out to hunt for capture, hunt a deer or something like that, and bring it to his father. Rivka Amrel Yaakov, and so Rivka says to Yaakov, her son Lamer, I heard your father speaking to Esav, your brother, saying. Rivka calls her other son Yaakov, and she says to him, Avili Tzayid, I heard your father telling your older brother Esav, go bring a tzayid, go hunt for me a hunt, Vaseli matamim, and make for me delicacies, v'achela, and I will eat. I will bless you before I pass away. And now my son, Shema b'koili, listen to what I'm saying to you, listen to my voice. What I am commanding you. Lechna el atzayin, go to the sheep, v'kach li, and take from me, misham, from there, shnei geduye izim, 2 young kid goats, tayvim, good ones. Ve'esa oischa matamim, and ve'esa oisa matamim, I'm going to make them into delicious foods, lavicha, to your father, kasher ohev, like he loves. And then you will bring it to your father, and he will eat, so that he will bless you. In other words, she's suggesting that Yaakov should take the role of Esav, and that he should, being that the father is blind, so he will be able to pretend that he's Esav, and he will bring for Yitzchak the delicacies, and he will snatch the blessings before Esav gets them. So Yaakov says to Rivka, his mother, Esav, my brother, is a hairy person. And I'm smooth. We already learned when they were born that Esav was a very hairy person and Yaakov was smooth. So my father might be suspicious. If he touches me, he will tap me, he will touch me, he will feel me. And I will be as a deceiver. And I'm going to end up drawing upon myself a curse and not a blessing. I'm going to trigger a curse, not a blessing. So his mother says to him, your curse that you're afraid of, which is supposed to come, which you're afraid will come upon you, I'll take it on myself. Listen to my voice, and go take it from me. So he went, and he goes and he gets those kid goats. Brings it to his mother. And his mother goes and prepares a dish, delicious foods, like his father loves. Rivka takes the clothing of her older son, achamudos that are cherished, that she has it in the house. As Rashi says, Esav didn't trust his wives, and these were very precious clothing. They were the clothing that belonged initially to Adam Harishon in Gan Eden. It was the original pair of clothing. So Esav kept it only by his mother, not by his wives, afraid that they would steal it. And so now she takes it, and she vatalbashes Yaakov ben Akatan, and she herself dresses her younger son Yaakov. She also put the hides of the goats. She puts it on his hands, on exposed arms, and on his neck, the part where the clothing isn't covering, so that just in case he will feel the hairy part. The goat's hair would give him that feeling, so he would have the feel of Esav. She took the delicacies and the bread that she made, V'yad Yaakov beno, and gave it in the hands of Yaakov. So now he does as his mother instructed. Must have been his heart pounding. Comes to his father. He says, Father, I'm here. Mi ata b'ni, who are you? Because he smelled something fishy. And Yaakov says to his father, Anochi Esav b'charecha, I'm Esav, your firstborn son. Asisi kasha debarti alai, I did as you instructed me. Kumna, please get up. Shva, sit down. Va'achla mitzeidi, and eat from what I had hunted. Ba'avata v'rechani nafshecha, so that you will bless me. V'yayme Yitzchak al benai, and Yitzchak says to his son, Ma'azemi hartalim tzibini, how is it that you got back so quickly? It seems that you returned before I expected you. V'yayme, he says, Kehikra Hashem alekecha lefanai, God assisted me. V'yayme Yitzchak al Yaakov, so Yitzchak now, that erases Yitzchak's suspicion even more, as Rashi says that Esav generally doesn't mention Hashem's name so much. So Yitzchak is again suspicious. He says, "Kshana v'mushcha b'ni, step close. I want to feel you. Ha'atazeh b'ni Esav imloi. Are you really my son Esav or not?" No. Vayigash Yaakov. Sure, Yaakov's heart skips a beat, and Yaakov approaches Al Yitzchak Av, if the Yitzchak his father, vayimu shehu, and he feels him. And he says, Akrol kol Yaakov, the voice sounds like the voice of Jacob, the voice of Yaakov. And the hands are the feel of Esav. I feel the hair. And he didn't suspect that there was a deception over here. He was a little confused. But you sound like your brother Yaakov, not like Esav. But he didn't recognize him because his hands, in other words, he didn't recognize that he's Yaakov because his hands were hearing, like his mother had planned well. And he blessed him. Remember, that's important. He blesses him. And he says, Esav, are you really my son Esav? He says, I am. Step close and I will eat. From that which you hunted. Nafshi said, I can bless you. He brought it up close to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. Yitzchak, his father says, Kshana, step close, ushkali b'ni, and kiss me, my son. I guess he really needed to get to the bottom of this situation over here. He needs him up and close. Vayigash, and he approached. Vayishakla, and he kissed him. Vayavarech esreach begadav, and he sent and he smelled the scent of his clothing, which were the clothing of Adam in Garden of Eden. So it had this incredible scent of Gan Eden. When he blessed him. And he says, take a look. The scent of my son, like the scent of the field, that God has blessed. And now he begins to flow the blessing. God should give you mitala shamayim from the dew of heavens, mishmane aretz, from the fats of the earth. V'roiv dagon, and a lot of grains, v'tiroish, and wine. Yavducha amim, nations should serve you. V'yishtachva l'cha le'umim, and empire should bow down to you. Havei gvir la'achecha, be a master to your brother. V'yishtachva l'cha, they will bow down to you. B'nei yimecha, sons of your mother. Oidedecha order, those who cursed you are cursed. M'varachecha baruch, those who blessed you are blessed. V'hika shekila Yitzchak lavarech es Yaakov. Now, as soon as Yitzchak was done blessing Yaakov, Jacob, Yaakov, it was as soon as Yaakov departed, he left. Yitzchak from the face of Yitzchak, his father. Esav, his brother, comes from his hunt. And he too made delicacies. He brought it to his father. Now, he finally got, the Medrash tells us that Hashem prolonged Esav's hunt. The deers kept on running away from him. In any case, and he says to his father, Yaakov Avi, rise, my father, and you should eat from the hunt of your son, so you can bless me. So Yitzchak, his father, says to me, who are you? What do you mean? What do you think I am? I'm your son, your firstborn Esav. And Yitzchak trembles, very great tremble. Who's the one who went out? Yitzchak says basically, now I'm seriously confused. So who's the one who went out and hunted a hunt, and he brought to me, and I ate, Mikoil, from all that he brought me, before you came, when I blessed him already. Gam barachiyah, may he also indeed be blessed. That means he's now confirming the blessing. In other words, like Rashi says, he was telling him, don't think that because I realize it's a mistake, I'm canceling that blessing, he should be blessed. In other words, by this time, Yitzchak picked up that it was Yaakov who came and snatched those blessings, and he certifies the blessing. Kishmaya Esav is divrei Aved. When Esav hears the words of his father, he cries out a loud and bitter cry, ad ma'od, a piercing, bitter cry. And he says to his father, please bless me as well. He says, well, your brother came with slyness, with cunningness, and he took your blessings. And he says, Yaakov, didn't I call him Yaakov? Didn't he call him Yaakov? He tricked me twice. Yaakov from the word trickery. He tricked me 2 times. My firstborn rights he took, and now he took my blessing. As Rashi says, this is the first time that Yitzchak is hearing about the sale that happened earlier, that Esav sold the firstborn to Yaakov. But Vayomer, and now, which by the way, in a moment we'll see, calms Yitzchak down because he was afraid that maybe I blessed the youngest when I'm supposed to bless the Torah. It says you can't show favoritism; you have to give the firstborn to the firstborn, and obviously he's double portion and everything, including the blessing. So he was afraid that he made a mistake. So now, however, when he hears from Esav that actually Yaakov, they had made this agreement, so now Yaakov is the firstborn, so that absolves him from that guilt. So it actually made Yitzchak feel far more comfortable with the blessing that he gave. And he says, now Esav continues, did you set aside for me a blessing? Did you set aside for me some blessing? And Yitzchak says to Esav, he responds, I made him already your master. And all his brothers I gave him to be slaves. And grain and wine I have supported him with. What can I do for you now? Esav says, Elav to his father, do you have one blessing? Anything left, please, my father? Esav understood how powerful these blessings are. Bless me as well. And yet Esav raises his voice and he cries. Vayan Yitzchak Aviv. So Yitzchak, his father, answers, Vayemer Elav, and he says, "In a mishmane aretz yeh meshavecha." I'll give you something. From the fats of the earth should be your living. Omitala shamayim, and from the dews of heaven, may all from above. V'char b'chatichta, you will live by your sword. V'zachicha tavid, but you got to serve your brother. V'yakashe tarid, but when your brother will descend, when your brother will have a fall, spiritual fall, when Jacob will lose his spiritual stature, and he will remove the yoke of heaven. That means the Jew will not be as Jewish as he should be. You're going to have the power then to remove the yoke of your brother from your neck, and then you're not going to have to serve him. Okay, that's the story. Then it goes on to say how Esav was burning with hatred to his brother. Okay. That's one of the most dramatic stories in the Torah. And obviously there's so much to talk about. What I'd like to share with you today, and obviously we're looking for the futuristic idea in all of this. We're looking for the Moshiach seed. And obviously a story like this is full of future and powerful Moshiach teachings. So what I'd like to share with you today is a brief explanation by the Shalach HaKadosh, great 17th century Kabbalist. And the seeds of Hasidism is in the teachings of the Shalach. So he asks about 15 questions on this whole story. He answers them in his style, which is very fascinating. And again, I'm not going to go through all the questions. Let's just go through some of them. I read you the whole story today because he asks questions on the entire story, so we get the whole thing. His first question is the obvious question: how is it that Yitzchak was making such a mistake and he wanted to bless his son Esav over his son Yaakov? How could that be? Especially since we know that Avram Avinu, never blessed his son Yitzchak before his passing. Usually we know a father always blessed his children. It was a style, it was a way of life. We find Moshe, before he passes away, blesses the Jewish people. David, before he passes away, blesses Shlomo. Yaakov, before he passes, blesses the tribes. Yitzchak doesn't bless, Avram didn't bless Yitzchak. And Yitzchak wants to bless his sons as well, but Avram didn't. Rashi says the reason is because Avram foresaw that Esav is one of the children. Esav was actually born already, and he knew he was wicked. He was afraid that his blessing to his son Yitzchak, which will later translate to his children, will empower Esav's wickedness. And Avram didn't do that. So the Shalach says, if Yitzchak knows that he hasn't been blessed by his father, and he's got to question why, and he must have thought about that, and he must have realized that he didn't want to bless me because perhaps he would be feeding poison. He would be feeding a poisonous snake. If that's the case, and he's going to go and give his primary blessing to Esav, something doesn't add up. The other question is, why did God make that from Hashem's end, he asks, why did Hashem make that the blessing should come through trickery? Hashem orchestrated, obviously, all of this. Such important blessings, why does it have to come through trickery? Thirdly, one of the interesting things we find in the story, as I mentioned to you earlier, that when Yaakov says to his mother, Rivka, when she makes this shocking suggestion that he should deceive his father, he says, what happens if I get busted? My father will feel me and I'll be busted. And then I'll bring upon myself a curse. What does Rivka say? Rivka says to her son, Yaakov, she says, your curse will be upon me. And the question is, so thank you. Do I want, God forbid, you should be cursed? Would that make me happy? It's not going to be. My curse is not going to be me. It's going to be your mother. How can Yaakov accept that? And you see that Yaakov is okay. Okay, if the curse is upon you, I'll go ahead. Doesn't seem right. Especially what we just said, that if Yitzchak's, even from a selfish standpoint, if Avram's blessings going to Yitzchak would go to Esav, because the blessings go from generation to generation, then Yitzchak's curse that would be given to Rebecca, to Rivka, will go to Yaakov anyways. So how can he accept that? Another thing, which is really stunning, that Yaakov lied. He says, God forbid. We know Yaakov symbolizes truth. And here he stands in front of his father and he says, I am Esav, literally, Anochi Esav Becharecha. I am Esav, your firstborn. Now, Rashi says that it wasn't a lie, it was like a white lie. It was truth, but it came across to Yitzchak, he understood it. What Yaakov was saying was, I am who I am. Esav, your firstborn. Esav is your firstborn. That's what Rashi says. But I am who I am. Right? No one is happy with that Rashi. It still doesn't seem right. Right? The other thing is, he could have avoided it. He didn't have to say, I am Esav. He said, I am your firstborn. Remember we said earlier, Yitzchak doesn't know of the sale. Esav never said it. So he should have said, I'm your firstborn. I did what you told me. Or does he have to add, I am Esav? That's a good question. The other question that he asks is, it's interesting. When I read to you the story, and this is a pivotal part in his whole explanation, when I read to you the story, as soon as Yaakov comes in, Yitzchak is beginning to be suspicious. So he says to him, hold on, let me find it over here. Oh, he says, come here, let me feel you. He feels him. And he said, as soon as he felt him and he saw that he's hairy, it kind of was enough to remove his alarming state, which he was. And it says, Vayevarcheyu, when he blesses him. So we would think, he gave him the blessing. Which blessing did he give him right now? Vayevarcheyu, when he blessed him. Later it says he blessed him again. Vayevarcheyu, when he blessed him, 3 verses later. Pasuk Chav Dalet says, he questions right after it says he blesses him, the first time. He says to him again, are you really my son Esav? And he says, yeah, I am. And then he says, okay, bring me the food. And he brings him the food, and he asks him, he wants to kiss him. He kissed him. And then it says he blesses him, and he goes on to say the blessings. So if we see that Yitzchak is not yet, he's still in doubt, even after he touches him, that he feels it. He's thinking maybe he's still Esav, so how can he bless him immediately? What was Varecheyu? He hadn't yet, and he didn't want to bless Yaakov. He wanted to bless Esav. Why is it that he blessed him? And what's the meaning of that first blessing, and then he blesses him again? Is it the same blessing, or is it really 2 separate blessings? That's his next question. The other thing is later when Esav comes along and Yitzchak realizes, and he asks, who is the one who came before? He says, Gam Baruch Yeh, let him also be blessed. What is the emphasis of Gam Baruch Yeh? Baruch Yeh, let him be blessed. What's the Gam also? He brings that Rashi gives an answer, but we're not going to go into that right now. The other interesting thing is when it says your brother, when Yaakov says to when Yitzchak says to Esav, your brother came. He uses the word bemirma. Mirma means like with deception. Cunningness, deception. So Rashi says, how can you say that on Rashi doesn't ask the question, but Rashi says that the word bemirma doesn't mean cunning, it means with wisdom. He came with wisdom. Comes with a wisdom that's not negative. But then the question is, the Shalah asks, if the Torah meant to say that your brother came with cunning, with wisdom, then it should have said so in the verse. The word chachma is a constantly used word in the Tanakh, in the Torah. So it should say ba'achicha b'chachma, with wisdom. Why use a word that has such a negative connotation? That the word bemirma can mean with trickery and deception. especially since we find that the Torah is very careful to speak a very clean language. As we find, he says in Parshas Noach, the Torah goes out of its way to say the animal that is not kosher, not tahor, not pure, instead of saying the animal that is defiled. Because he doesn't want to even speak negatively about a non-kosher animal. So he just wants to speak politely. It's an animal, it's not pure. So over here to say about Esav, to choose a word that leaves you with that Yaakov, who's the epitome of truth, is like cunning and deception and so forth. So we need to understand that. Also the back and forth of Yaakov and Yitzchak. Of Yitzchak and Esav in the end over here. He says we need some more clarification what's going on of him. What's their discussion? He said, bless me, after he tells him that someone came already, and I ate already, and I blessed him. He says, bless me also, Father. He says, your brother came with cunning or with wisdom, and he take your blessing. He says, didn't I call him Yaakov, and he tricked me twice? He says, and then he says again, didn't you save me a blessing? And Yitzchak says, well, I've given him everything already. What else can I do for you? So Esav says, do you have one blessing? And then Yitzchak goes ahead and blesses him. So we need to understand, if we look carefully, like what was the dialogue over here? What was the back and forth? Okay, these are basic the questions, and now there'll be a few more elements that we'll explain. So let's try to do it very briefly. So the Shlach Kodesh says like this. Number one, very important idea. These blessings that were being given over here were multifaceted blessings. Externally, they were blessings of worldly things. They pertain to this world. It means material blessings, like we see from the dews of heaven, from the fat of the earth. He blessed them with great wealth, with great material success. Power in this world, kingship over his brothers, dominance in the world, strength, wealth. That's what it is. A good life, materially. But he says the blessings also are spiritual as well, which means pertaining to the futuristic world, the world after Moshiach, where the material things of the world will become meaningless. There'll be an abundance, but they'll be meaningless, because the value is going to turn to spirituality. And everybody's going to people are going to thirst for knowledge, for Torah. And that's why the Midrash tells us that Mital Hashamayim means the written Torah, Mishmanei Haaretz, the fat of the earth, is the oral law, Torah Shebeksav, Torah Shebapeh. So this is spiritual blessings, Torah blessings. That's number one. And that's why he says, the Shlosh says, just like Yitzchak's blessing that Yitzchak gave, intending it to be for Esav, but again, it was in the end for Yaakov, had dual meaning. It's the blessings of this world and the blessings of the world to come as well. Spiritual bliss for the future. In addition to that, he says, we find also that when Yitzchak, we know that there's a concept in the Chassidus. He doesn't use exact these terms, but this seems to be what he means. We always know that everything needs to be stimulated. And in accordance to the stimulation, commensurate to the stimulation, so is the flow. So when Yitzchak asked Esav to stimulate, how? By going out and putting an effort and doing a mitzvah of honoring his father and bringing him food, food will provoke the blessing. So therefore, since the blessings were both double, spiritual and physical, so when you have to say that when he instructed him to bring him food, he meant such a type of a dish that's both physical and spiritual. He proves it. The Midrash says, on the words, he says, make from me delicacies, and I will eat mikol, from everything. Since he says from everything, what does the everything sing? So the Midrash says that it's referring to Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia, an argument Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia. One of them says, mikol, that in that food will be included in the food that I'm eating. I will eat from everything that was created in the 6 days of creation. In other words, make me a dish that has all flavor, worldly flavor. And then Rabbi Nechemia says, from all the good, which is mesukan la'asad lavai, which is set aside for the future. Knows all the spirit. Yitzchak said, prepare a dish unlike anything else. It should contain within it all the pleasures of this world and all the pleasure of the world to come. So you see clearly, since his blessing that he was going to bless him was going to be the ultimate blessing on two levels, so the evoker, the stimulator, also had to be evoked from the two dimensions. Okay. That's one introduction that he introduces. Again, this is a very important idea. This is a dual blessing on two levels of existence. And now the second element of his introduction. Rivka, she's the mother of Yaakov and Esav. In her womb, and we discussed this earlier when we learned about the tremendous struggle that was going on inside of her womb. She's the mother. She has both these Yaakov and Esav. One is wicked and one is a righteous, tzaddik, saintly person. They're both together in the womb. They're fighting. What was really going on in the womb? What was going on in the womb was that it was a furnace. Her womb was considered the furnace which is used to separate the good from the bad. When you take gold from the ground, it has within it sediments, it has impurities, it's not gold, it's not shining, it's just mixed. You have to put it through a kiln, or I forgot what they usually call it, this melting pot. And it melts the gold and it helps sift through the bad from the good. In Rivka's womb, there was, from the sin of Adam, from the sin of Adam and Eve, good and bad was mixed, and it went into Adam and Chava, and since then mankind was polluted. That pollution, that polluted state, that mixed state of the human being, now is the time that we begin that rectification, and it's beginning with the Jewish people. To separate that which is pure and holy in the image of Adam, and to take out the effects of the snake and separate it. Instead of it being a glob, a mixture. So that kind of separation is taking place in Rivka's womb. And the way it worked was, Yaakov was going to suction all the good, all the holiness into himself, and Esav was going to suction all the pollution from the snake and which was embedded into mankind, which was going to go into Esav. This was this separation, this taking place in her womb. So that's why it says that when Yaakov, he actually, his physical appearance, his physical image was the same, a carbon copy of Adam, or at least Maayon Shofar. He looked like the first human being in his pure state. Esav took out all the redness, all the blood, all the impurities that went into Esav. And Rivka is that cleansing place. This will also give us to understand why Yitzchak liked Esav. It's a deep idea. He doesn't really explain it that well. That just very briefly. The root, we know that Avram is chesed, which is kindness. Yitzchak is din, judgment. The power of gevura, the power of judgment, because gevura is the ability of God to constrict and to limit, which is, of course, a very holy power needed so that there can be a creation. But because of that power of constricting godliness, when the constrictions become too intense, the force of constriction goes to an extreme, it constricts and blocks any sense of the divine, and it ends up being the source of very negative creations and beings. It translates into the forces of the Satan, of the Satan, and other things, and then negative, and the snake, and all those elements. They derive their energy from the left side, which is Yitzchak's side. So therefore, there is a relationship between Yitzchak and Esav. And it has to be. So the love that there is between them is because there is a trickling down. But Rivka, interesting, she's connecting to the other side of Yitzchak. And Yitzchak has, this is interesting, that would have seemed to be saying what the Shalah is saying. that the power of Gevura and the an element of Gevura of Yitzchak has two faces to it. On the one hand, Gevura rises higher than anything else. Gevura is a retraction into self. Therefore, on the left side, in the energy of Gevura, the retraction of divine energy back into its source to be included completely in God. Avram is chesed, water flows outward, representing the idea that a flow of divine light outward. Yitzchak is fire. It's the ingathering of godly energy that has been diffused outward in an intense, powerful longing and yearning and desire to be re-included in source. Therefore, and you realize how these two things are two sides of the same coin. When divine energy goes back into its source, it is wholly beyond holiness because it's like the ray inside its source. It's like the sun rays going back in their source. At that moment, there's nothing but the source, which is only pure God. However, because the energy rushes upward, it leaves a vacuum. So down here from the left side, which is constantly seeking an upward connection, from the left side that is constantly seeking an upward connection, comes down here a constriction and a darkness, which ends up to be Esav. So we can say about Yitzchak two things. There is Yitzchak as Yitzchak is rising up, and there is Yitzchak as Yitzchak is descending down. Yitzchak's rising up is the epitome of holiness, the Shalach HaKadosh says. The Yitzchak's descending down, which means what effects of him down in the lower realms could be negative, and that's where Esav comes from. And that's why, where was Yitzchak ascending? Where did Yitzchak express his ascent upward? That was by the binding of Isaac. When Isaac was lifted up and put on the altar to be burnt up for God, in the end he wasn't burnt, but he was in a state of being a korban, elevated korban. Which korban? It's called Ola. Ola means a burnt offering. So Yitzchak literally was burnt in God, meaning he became completely one with Hashem, unified with Hashem on the highest level. And then Hashem says, okay, you brought him up, take him down. And that's the other element of Yitzchak, the downward. So Rivka, the Shalah says, the Torah refers to her the words Be'ulas Baal, which on the simple meaning, it's when Avimelech, the king of Philistine, took a liking to Rivka, but he saw that he realized that Yitzchak deceived him when Yitzchak said, "She's my sister." We learned about that, and he said, "Why did you cheat me and say she's your sister when she's really your wife?" V'hi ba'ulas Baal, she's a married woman. She had relations with a man, with her husband. That's the simple meaning. The deeper meaning is, the Gemara learns out that a woman rises with her husband. But it says it by Rivka. What does that mean? That in Yitzchak's rising, in Ola, Rivka rises in his elevation. That's why she loved Jacob, she loved Yaakov, because Yaakov is called Ish Tam, a complete person, which represents this oneness with Hashem. A korban. Yaakov is a tam. The idea of tam means complete, which is the idea which we say about a korban. Yaakov is, so in a sense, Yaakov and Esau. Yaakov is the elevation of Yitzchak. They're both, Yaakov and Esau, are derivatives from the concept of Yitzchak, from the power of Gevura. Yaakov, however, is the Gevura in its full attachment above. Esau is the snake element of the Gevura that goes all the way down. Yitzchak, being the source of Esav, has a connection to Esav, and therefore, whatever we can say, he likes him or loves him. Rivka, however, attaches herself to the inner realm of Yitzchak, not to the outer realm. That's where she loves Yaakov. Okay. Now, so now once we have this introduction, and we can understand where they're both coming from, we can now appreciate what Yitzchak's intention were and what the drama of this whole story. So follow along. We'll try to do it very fast. So it works like this. Initially, when Yitzchak wanted to give the blessings, of course he knew the truth about his children. He knew Yaakov is a holy man, never left the tents of studies. He was devoted to serving God all day long. He knew Esav is a materialistic person. Yitzchak, however, and he knew that Yaakov, really, his world, his reality is the spiritual. And he always intended to bless Yaakov with those spiritual blessings of the future, of the world to come. That wasn't a question. When Yitzchak, however, wanted to bless his son Esav, was because what Yitzchak wanted to do is he wanted to give Esav the material blessings of this world. Why did he give him the blessing? Esav is going to get it anyways. He had to relate, he was meant for this world. What Yitzchak wanted was that Esav's material wealth and his involvement and possession of the physical world and the material world shouldn't be completely devoid and disconnected from a future world of spirituality, of holiness. Yitzchak couldn't bear the thought that Esav would just live the material world in a complete disconnect from anything spiritual and anything purposeful and anything meaningful. So with his tremendous compassion for his son Esav, he wanted to imbue Esav with a touch of spirituality. And how will he do that? He will bless him with the material blessings, but he's going to link up the material blessing with this more spiritual state of existence. And that's why he said to him, go hunt for me, go make me go get me food like I like, matamim, the like that I like. And as I said earlier, in those food, I want you to put in of the higher and the lower realms together. In other words, make an effort not just to get me a piece of meat, a piece of steak. The point over here is that I need to hook you up with something higher. So I want that food to reflect the spiritual as well, the godly as well. And that's why he also tells him go take your arms, go take your bow, your arrow, and all these things. Weapons belong only to this world. They don't belong to the future world. When the future world, it says, once Moshiach comes, the nations are gonna cut their swords. They're gonna break their swords into plowshares. Won't be used for weapons. What Yitzchak wanted, what Yitzchak said like this: the weapons of this world, your tools, your instrument, I want you to do a mitzvah with it. In other words, use these. These are your instruments of war, of aggression. Take these and bring me, go hunting for me, and serve your father, and do something higher with it, so that you're connecting this, your tools and your instrument to the higher realm of the future. So you'll bring kedusha, so to speak, a little bit of holiness into your unholy reality. Now Rivka hears. So again, that was his main intention in the blessing. His main intention was to give him a material world, but connected to spirituality. Rivka knew Esav's state. And she knew that if Esav is going to be blessed with these physical things, he's not going to in any way. He's beyond repair on his own. He doesn't have it within himself to be able to elevate himself to a more spiritual state. And this extra abundance of physical blessings might corrupt him. The Shlah doesn't say this. I'm interjecting that from what it says in Chassidus and other places. And she felt that, on the contrary, Yaakov needs the material world because Yaakov is a spiritual and godly, and therefore his soul doesn't draw to itself material blessing. His soul draws wisdom, enlightenment. And Yaakov needs some weight on him. In other words, he needs It's almost like, you see, the concern of the two different parents, the two different children. Esav is a materialistic person to the extreme. Yaakov is a spiritual being, completely detached from. He sits in the tents of study, has no feel, no sense, no substance of earthiness, just an abstract soul. So it's interesting. Just like Esav, Yitzchak wants to take the crassness of Esav and sublime him and connect him to the spiritual realm, Rebecca wants the opposite. She wants to take Yaakov from his very lofty, higher realm and bring him down here as well, that Yaakov should also have some material, physical existence in this world. And the truth is, he doesn't mention it, but as it's explained in other places, through that he will actually be able to connect to his brother Esav and fix Esav as well. Because if Yaakov and Esav remain in two different zones, they're not communicating, they're not attaching. So therefore, she calls Yaakov, and she says as follows, Kachli, take for me. It's interesting, the word she used, I didn't mention this in the questions earlier, she says, Kachli, take for me. Go get me the two goats. What's the emphasis? Take for me. So Rashi says it means, she says, I'm not stealing, because it's her husband's property, I'm not stealing, because he had told me when we got married in my ketubah, in my marriage contract, he had written to me that I can have two goats every day. You know, he was a wealthy man. 2 goats. That's what it was in those days. Instead of flowers, you brought your wife goats. This was her thing, her stipend, if you can say, her spending, her cash. So, her allowance. So she said, this is my allowance. That's the simple meaning. But the Shalah is learning much deeper. Kach li, take for me. What does that mean? When you're going to go take the goats, take it from my perspective. As I said earlier, Rivka's connection to her husband is to the higher, to the side of Yitzchak that's facing upward, not to the side of Yitzchak that's facing downward. So the food that you're taking, I want you to bring me food that is like the goats. I want to imbue in these goats that powerful spiritual light that Yitzchak wants. And she says, that's why she says, go get me food. She says, and like he loves. What do you think Yitzchak loves? Steak? Likes lamb chops? Isaac is a chariot to God. He's not into lamb chops or goats, whatever meat. What she was saying is, I know what Yitzchak loves. Yitzchak loves to cleave to God. So I want to make a dish filled with spiritual light and divine radiance. So Yitzchak will sense that spirit. It's going to be in the physical food, but the physical food completely permeated, attached to that spiritual. It's interesting. That's what Yitzchak, we said earlier, had requested from his son Esav. But when it says that Esav went to hunt, take a look. What does it say? It says Esav went out. Vayelach Esav asada lotzet sayed lahav. He went to bring a hunt to bring. It doesn't say like his father loves. Because in the end, he wasn't doing that because he was too disconnected from that. See, he just went to get material piece of meat. Actually, the Talmud, the Medrash says it. In the end, he couldn't find the deer, so he got so frustrated he killed a dog, which is obviously not kosher, and he brought his father dog meat. So you see, he was totally disconnected. Rivka is saying, "I'm going to make kasher orev like your father loves. Will eat." Now, by the way, I wanted to mention something else. When we say that Rivka was the one who was doing the sorting out, she put all the good, she helped Yaakov absorb all the holiness, and Esav absorb all the negative. Part of that negativity was actually coming from her, because her brother was Lavan, Arami, Lavan the cheat. Her father was Besuel. These were very, very dark people. So she had it in her DNA, some of that non-kosher stuff, tracing back to the snake, who was also Arami, a deceiver. So she said, and therefore she needed to cause that separation. That's the reason why God made them both come out together and be in her womb together, so that her children won't be mixed, but they can be a separation, good from bad, which is really something that happens throughout all of history, the separation between the holy from the unholy. In any case, what happens? Yaakov says to his mother, he says, Esav is hairy and I'm smooth. So what does he mean by that? Esav is hairy and I'm smooth. So he says what he really means by this is he's referring to Esav down here. We look different, we feel different, but also Esav up there. Yaakov over here had a fear. He says Esav's source is satanic, as we mentioned earlier. And he belongs to the sources of the Samach Mem. Samach Mem is the angel of the negative side, of the dark side. And which is the source of demons and all that stuff, which is the idea, that's what he means, Sa'ir. He's a man of here, which we know demons are always come. Sa'ir means also goats. When you see the pictures of demons, they have always the horns like goats and so on and so on. He says Esav is on that side. Yaakov is basically saying, and I'm very holy, which means I'm chalak. I belong to Chelek Hashem, I'm a piece of God from above. And we know that the unholy and the forces of unholiness, they try to latch themselves on unholiness very much. In other words, they derive their energy only from the holy. So he says, if I'm going to provoke them, I'm actually they're gonna come after me. They're gonna harm me. That's what he's afraid. It wasn't just wasn't a curse from his father. He says, maybe my father will, since Esav will bring upon me a curse, which means I will stimulate, I will connect. If I try to pretend that I'm Esav, I will end up in Esav's energy, and all that negativity will come down upon me. So his mother says, the depth of the question we asked before, his mother says, it's upon me should be your curse. What does that mean? Don't worry, she said. A lie. It was my job. It's my job. Kililascha, your curse, which means your impurity that you had in the womb, growing together with your brother. It's my job to separate that curse from you. It was my work to cause this separation and this distinction. So therefore, they have no grasp on you because I've already completely purified you. You don't have anything within you. I put it all into Esav. You're completely separated, so you have no connection to them for them to be able to harm you. So you're clean, you're pure. Nothing is going to happen. That's the meaning, not the curse that Isaac is going to give. It's upon me. I'm responsible for the curse that's inside of you from your birth, from your DNA that's happening, not from your birth, from your conception inside of me, and I have from my family side of impurities stemming back from the snake's encounter with Adam and Eve. But it's me to purify, and I've done that purification. And and I'm not going to be able to finish this entire discussion this week. We'll continue it next class. And then, in order to deal, however, with the physical danger that Yitzchak might just realize who it is, so then she goes and she dresses him with the goat's hair, so he should feel hairy. But there's something else that's very deep, and with this we're going to conclude, and we're going to continue next class. It's strange that Rivka, it says she dressed her son, Yaakov, which is not really what we call derech eretz. It's not appropriate. A child is supposed to honor their parents, and a child is supposed to, and part of honoring parents is that if you help your father put on his jacket, you feed them, you clothe them. Not a mother should dress a child unless they're very young and they can't dress. How come Yaakov is allowing himself to be dressed by his mother? Something is... So the Shalah explains that there was a very deep intention over here. As mentioned earlier, the womb process was that Yaakov should take, because the process in her womb initially was that Yaakov should suction out the good of Esav, and Esav should take out, if there's any impurities in Yaakov, into him. So what she did now was, she was dressing Yaakov with Esav's clothing. She took Esav's clothing and put him onto Yaakov. This was a continuation of this exchange. Yaakov's energy being, Yaakov's impure energy transmitting to Esav, Esav's pure energy going to Yaakov. So when she's doing that, she's actually imbuing, and since she's the mother and she's the source of this transitioning of energy, right? Moving them around or exchange, this energy exchange. It's for that reason that she was involved now, and she herself dresses him with Esav's garments. Now, Esav's garments are the garments of Adam in Gan Eden, which means it's that holiness that's there. Now, the benefit of what happened by his mother doing this to him is that Yaakov has within himself now Esav's positive side. So Yaakov is not only Yaakov, Yaakov is actually partially Esav now. And as a result of that, when Yaakov now comes to Yitzchak, and Yitzchak says, "Are you Esav?" and Yaakov answers, "Yes, I am Esav," he's not saying a lie, he's saying the truth. Because when his mother dressed him in Esav's clothing, she imbued him with Esav's soul, and we said before, the good side of Esav, now was transmitted into Yaakov. So Yaakov is saying, "I am Esav, your son." So that's actually not a lie, it was actually true. Okay, we're going to stop over here, and we're going to pick up Be'ezrat Hashem next week. Problem is Thursday I'm out of town, so it'll probably end up being the following Thursday. Okay, everyone stay tuned. I hope I remember where we're holding, and we'll continue. Take care, everyone. Be well. Have a really good week.